Zombie apocalypse.
So the topic that I'll be presenting, based from our course syllabus, talks about ICT policies and issues and its implications or impacts to teaching and learning. Class, let us first define the term or the word policy. So according to Oxford English Dictionary, policy is defined as a course of action adopted and pursued by a government, party, ruler, or statesman. It is any course of action adopted as expedient or advantageous. Its operational definition of policy is a plan of action to guide decisions and achieve outcomes. So, policy is like a deliberate system of guidelines to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes. It is a statement of intent and is implemented as a procedure or protocol. Policies are generally adopted by a governance body within an organization. Class policies can assist in both subjective and objective decision making. When we say subjective decision making, policy usually assists senior management with decisions that must base on the relative merits of a number of factors and as a result are often hard to test objectively. Example, the work-life balance policy. Moreover, governments and other institutions have policies in the form of laws, regulations, procedures, administrative actions, incentives, and voluntary practices. So frequently, resource allocations mirror policy decisions. So in other words, class, policy, to implement a policy, it must have a resource allocations or a budget because policy is a blueprint of the organizational activities which are repetitive or routinary in nature. So for emphasis, again, policy is a law, a regulation, procedure, administrative action, incentive, or voluntary practice of government and other institutions. To further understand, in the context of health, policy can be influenced in many different sectors. For example, transportation policies can encourage physical activity, like pedestrian and bicycle-friendly community design. Policies in schools can improve nutritional content of school meals. So that is what is meant by policy and its example. But in the context of ICT, policies are needed to put a roadmap or a plan of course of actions to be pursued and adopted by various governments, organizations, entities involving ICT. So this includes the three main areas or the new ICT technologies. First, we have the information technology. So when we say information technology, from checking email on our phones to crunching numbers on our laptops to organizing a teleconference over cloud-based software, it's hard to overstate the importance of IT. So class, these are examples of information technology in the workplace and the ever-growing roles in the IT field. Okay. The phrase information technology goes back to a 1958 article published in the Harvard Business Review. According to the author, Harold Leavitt and Thomas L., there defines the several types of IT or information technology. IT pertains to, these are the following: techniques for the fast processing of information. Second is the use of statistical and mathematical models for decision making. And the last one is the simulation of higher order thinking through computer programs. So these many aspects of technology are uncertain. It seems clear that we'll move into a managerial scene rapidly with definite and far-reaching impact on managerial organization, according to these prominent authors. Okay? So another term is telecommunication technology. When we say telecommunication class, this pertains to the transmission of information by various types of technologies, like for example, over the wire, radio, optical, or other electromagnetic systems. So these are example of telecommunication. It has its origin in the desire of humans for communication over a distance greater than that visible with the human voice. But with a similar scale of expediency, thus slow systems such as postal mail are excluded from the field. So the transmission of media in telecommunication has evolved have evolved through numerous stages of technology, from beacons and other visual signals such as smoke signals, semaphore telegraphs, signal plugs, and optical heliographs to electrical cable and electromagnetic induction, including light. Such transmission paths are often divided into communication channels, which afford the advantages of multiplexing multiple current communication session. So telecommunication is often used in its plural form. So these are the areas of information or communication of technology, which is the telecommunication. So how about networking technologies? Networking technology allows for the exchange of data between large and small information systems used primarily by business and educational institutions. Network technicians, also known as network engineers or specialists, are responsible for the configuration, installation, and troubleshooting of the technology used to transmit digital information, including audio, visual, and data files. Through networking, end users are able to transmit files, messages, and other data through email or various other channels, sharing information through internet or intranet connections based on the needs of an organization. In the context of Bicol University, we have this ICTO, Information and Communication Technology Office, that deals with this kind of area in ICT, the networking technology, wherein they transmit digital information, data files through networking, um, not just files, messages, and other forms of data. That's why we have this faculty center, the BU account, your BU Gmail. This is an avenue to where we exchange information, data files, and communicate based on the needs of the or of our organization, which is the Bicol University. So these are the three main areas of ICT or the new ICT technologies. Uh, have you heard, or class, have you heard the term DICT? DICT is a, what do you call this? The abbreviation of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. It has formulated or set up a roadmap that serve as a guide or reference for all agencies in the utilization, regulation, and enhancement of ICT. So the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or the DICT, shall be the primary policy, planning, coordinating, implementing, and administrative entity of the executive branch of the government that will plan, develop, and promote the national ICT development agenda based on the Republic Act 10844. So the powers and functions of the DICT, we have three. Okay. The first one is to formulate, recommend, and implement national policies, plans, programs, and guidelines that will promote the development and use of ICT with due consideration to the advantages of convergence and emerging technologies. Second, they're going to formulate policies and initiatives in coordination with the Department of Education or the DepEd, the CHED or the Commission on Higher Education, and the Technical Education and Skills Development or what we call the TESDA to develop and promote. So this three agency will work together or will be coordinated by the DICT to develop and promote ICT in education consistent with the national goals and objectives, and it is responsive to the human resource needs of the ICT and ICT enabled services or the ICT ES sectors. The third powers and function of this department is to provide an integrated network or the framework, I should say, in order to optimize all government ICT resources and networks for the identification and prioritization of all e-government systems and applications as provided for the e-government master plan and the Philippine Development Plan or the PDP. So these are the primary function of ICT. So they will develop, promote based on the national ICT development in agenda. Because of the DICT, we have this so-called the ICT for education or the ICT for E. It is a program under the DICT that supports all the efforts of the education sector in incorporating the use of ICT as well as in determining in gaining access to the infrastructure which are necessary to use and deploy learning technologies at all levels in education. Among the policy recommended programs that have the applications to educations and in teaching and learning. So the what do you call this? The the ICT4A is deciding whether and how to use ICT for education. Depends on several factors, including the country context and the educational outcomes a program is targeting. The goal of this program is to strengthen systems and processes to ensure sustainability over the long term. Initiatives that are sustainably designed to impact teaching. So this is the goal of the ICT4A. Designed to impact teaching and learning in one country can entail more challenges to implement in another context. Therefore, when conceptualizing, designing, and implementing ICT in education systems, USAID or the adheres to the following 10 basic principles that can integrate ICT into a broader context and maximize impact beyond the education sector. We have 10. First, use ICT to support education and development goals. Okay? Second, use ICT to enhance student knowledge and skills. So that's the goal of the program to maximize impact beyond the education sector. Three, use ICT to support data-driven decision making. Include all short and longer term costs in budget planning. Fifth is explore technology alternatives to find appropriate solutions. So ICT4 is designed to use the technology or to look for other alternatives to find appropriate solutions to a given problem. Focus on teacher development. That's the sixth one. Training and ongoing support. And the seventh one is explore and coordinate the involvement of many different stakeholders. So this is not intended for education, but the involvement of other stakeholders to develop a supportive policy environment. Nine is to integrate monitoring and evaluation into project planning. And 10, it takes capacity to build capacity. System strengthening precedes system transformation. So these are the 10 principles of ICT 4A along with the USAID support. Okay? So the ICT for Education is a program under the ICT that supports all education sector to use ICT in gaining access to infrastructure and solve uh, problems by using technology alternatives. ICT in Education Master Plan for all levels, including a national roadmap for faculty development in ICT in education. A national framework for ICT or in basic education was also developed. The content and application development through the Open Content to Education Initiative or OCEI, which converts step-ed materials into interactive multimedia content, develop applications used in schools, and conduct students and teachers competitions to promote the development of education-related web content. The Open Content to Education Initiative or the OCEI, which is now um, the Open Educational Resources or the OER. So the DepEd Open Educational Resources or the OER is an innovative pathway to connect and disconnect schools, to connect the disconnected schools with its prime role to support the requirements of the K-12 curriculum. It focuses on the ICT assisted teaching and ICT assisted learning, whereas the customization of localized materials is made possible to deliver quality, accessible, relevant, and liberating education for all, even for schools without strong internet facilities. The OERs are designed in such a way to cater the needs for interactivity, digitization, and delivering of 21st century skills to make learners future ready. So class, this is the beginning of revolutionizing education in our Philippine setting to teach minds, touch hearts, and transform lives of learners. So this is what we call the digital rise. So that's how important the OER, which is the former OCEI, or the Open Education Resources, for interactivity, digitization, and delivery of the 21st century skills to prepare our learners in the future. So we have this PhD net or the PD net is a walled garden that hosts educational learning and teaching materials and applications for the use by Filipino students, their parents, and teachers. All public high school will be part of this network with only DepEd approved multimedia applications, materials, and mirrored internet sites accessible from schools' PC. So again, so this we have the PhD net. Okay? So when we say PhD net, it's a walled garden. So when we say walled garden, what is walled garden on the internet? On the internet, a walled garden is an environment that controls the user's access to network-based contents and services. In effect, the walled garden class directs the user's navigation within particular areas to enable access to selection of materials or prevent access to other materials. Although a walled garden does not always prevent users from navigating outside the walls, it often makes it more difficult than staying within the environment. So here are examples of walled garden. Common examples of walled garden include the following. We have the Apple's app Application Store and Google's Play Store. Of the social media sites such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have also what we call collaboration platforms such as Microsoft Teams or Slacks, and advertising and marketing technology platforms such as Google, Facebook, Apple, and Amazon. So these are example of walled garden. So I repeat, a walled garden is an environment that controls the user's access to network-based content and services. Established community e-learning centers called, we have this e-eskwela, okay? For out-of-school youth, providing them with ICT-enhanced alternative education or opportunities. This equality program for tertiary education through partnership with universities and colleges to improve quality of IT education and the use of ICT in education in the country, particularly outside of Metro Manila. So we have this e-eskwela, okay? E-eskwela class promotes a model. It's a project of the Department of Education, and CICT helps the out of school youth and adults learn how to use computers in the internet as tools of survival in the 21st century. It uses technology and multisensory approaches, which allows the learners to use their higher order thinking skills in studying. This is according to Dr. Corazon Rubio, Assistant School Division Superintendent and ALS in charge in Quezon City. So the ICT promotes a model that makes optimal use of ICT in facilitating access to educational opportunities for OSY or out of school youth and adult learners who have not completed their basic education. With the use of relevant interactive e-learning materials, blended and collaborative models of instruction, and performance-based assessment. In a problem or project-based learning environment, the program seeks to bridge the widening digital divide and social chasms between those who are educated and those who are not. It is consistent with the mission and purpose. The program aims to enhance the capacities of these individuals to empower them towards confidently participating in a global and knowledge-based society. So this is the program of e-eskwela. Digital Media Arts program, which builds digital media skills for governments using open source technologies. Particular beneficiary agencies include the Philippine Information Agency or the PIA, and the other government media organizations, the CCP or the Cultural Center of the Philippines, National Commission for Culture and Arts, and other government art agencies, state universities, colleges, and local government units. So, in other words, ICT skills strategic plan which develops an interagency approach, identifying strategic and policy and program recommendation to address ICT skills demand and supply type. So as we go along with this topic, you understand how important is ICT, what are the national issues and policies to improve the IT infrastructure, the digitization and interactive communication, especially to the Filipinos. So let us now proceed, class, to some of the issues on ICT policy and regulation. The first one is freedom of expression and censorship. So this is issue number one. So the internet and new information communication technologies are now integral part of everyday life. For many people around the world, ICTs are giving more and more people a voice and are improving openness and public debate in the society. At the same time, restrictions on the right of freedom of expression in relation to ICTs are on the increase. There have been many warnings that more and more states are trying to increase their grip on the growing flow of data and how people express themselves online. More and more, it is private actors and international corporations who are the providers enablers of ICTs and who therefore makes the decision about the extent to which the citizens are able to enjoy the right to freedom of expression. There is a question emerge asking whether the internet needs a separate set of international laws and treaties specifically designed for the new medium, or whether legal issues pertaining to web should be tackled within existing legislation and international standards. So in Article 19 argues that the right of freedom of expression was not designed to pit any particular medium or technology, regardless of whether it is exercised online or offline. It is an internationally protected right to which almost countries all over the world have committed themselves. So the next issue in about ICT in connection to internet policy and regulation is the privacy and security. Privacy in general is one of the first rights that every individual deserves. Due to different technologies, it has become one of the most challenging human rights issues. So, class, these days, everyone is trying to prevent people from invading their privacy. But in general, privacy has several definitions that can be expressed in simple terms. Privacy is the right that each user institution has in determining a limitation of access for people who try to gain access to their personal information and determining the time when this information should be shared with them. Before the existence of technology, there have been privacy. People have tried to respect the privacy of others. Still today, due to development in technology and given that in today's communication spaces, users can hide behind invalid usernames. That's why we have this dummy account. And as a result of which respect for the privacies individuals has been severely diminished. Individuals are trying to gain access. That's why we have these so-called hackers to invade privacy's account, someone's account, or to others' information without their permission. And they also abuse it to achieve their desires. So, since we already know what is privacy in the context of ICT, how about security? Security class is an issue that is of great importance these days. And many laws are trying to are trying to provide security for different people, like privacy, which has received more attention because of the advancement of technology. It's becoming more and more important as well as and people are increasingly trying to maintain their security. So in other words, information and communication security uh, in, in simple terms is a set of measures that should be taken to protect information and systems in the best possible way. In this regard, many points should be observed to maintain their information in a safe space and communicate with other users. Okay? So the next issue or the third one talks about surveillance and data retention. Okay? So um can anyone really imagine life without the internet and technology? For HRD or the human rights defenders and activists, Their answer would be no. Okay. Information and communication technology have become indispensable for individuals and networks, as well as integral to mobilizing resources effectively. Their capacity to influence and engage with individual and public opinions expand the social base that supports them, highlight struggles, and alternative ways of doing things, are all greatly facilitated by different technical means. How HRD tactically and creatively use ICT can enhance or minimize the responsiveness, reach, and survival. And it is the same for free media and the people keeping it alive. Without the internet and ICT, getting their voices heard and reaching out to local and global audiences would be much more of a challenge. Okay. So internet has profoundly changed over the last decade, moving from a free, open, decentralized, and do-it-yourself internet to a centralized and commercially oriented internet. Okay, so that's the third issue about policies um, and regulations. So the fourth one class is about e-pollutants and waste. Okay. So e-waste means electronic waste is used for all electrical devices which are no more used. Conventionally, waste management policies are although e-waste contains toxic materials, however, its management is really focused by policymakers. Therefore, its negative impact on the global environment, ecosystem, and human health is aggravated. The review outlines the categories of e-waste materials, major pollutants, including the ferrous or non-ferrous metals. These are metals: plastic, glass, printed circuit boards, cement, ceramic. So these are toxic elements from e-waste materials released in the air, water, and soil. Includes arsenic. These are poisonous chemicals, cadmium, chromium, mercury, causing pollution. Although their roles in biological systems are poorly identified, however, they possess significant toxic and carcinogenic materials. So these are one of the predicaments or issues about the use of ICT, okay, and its policies and roles. So let us now proceed, class, of ICT, its implications to teaching and learning. So the positive impact of ICT is it guides the teachers on what they should teach that relate to ICT and how to teach it. Since ICT development comes so rapid or advanced and fast, teachers might be overwhelmed by its rapid speed. Temperance or patience its use is a caution that should be looked at because of technology progresses from time to time. So as teachers, we should be responsive to this call of we should learn or adapt the new trends and developments of technology, particularly in the field of ICT. So, and how to deliver our instructions to the use of technology. Can you still remember this activity about I raise a question, should technology replace the human teacher? And the answer should be like this. Technology should not replace the human teacher. The tools are support. These are the technology, the visual aids, the audio visual aids in devices are your supports. That's why it's called an aid. Aid means to assist. These are the tools that support instructional materials for the teachers which are available for use. The teacher should learn how to appropriately use them. The human touch of the teacher is still the vital components in teaching. Teachers should always be reminded that there are always limitations in the use of different gadgets and tools. There are rules and regulations that govern the use of technology. Caution should be observed at all times to protect individual privacy. That's why one of the issues is about privacy and threat or security because of digital advancement or because of this ICT. The role of the teacher, you must be aware that the use of technology may jeopardize your privacy and security. Now that we have these different platforms, like in the use of Google Classrooms, web service tool for online class or learning, we should be aware that this can be hacked or this can be a threat for students. I know there are lots of circulating reports in social media that the Zoom and the likes of Google Meet are hacked by some of intruders or hackers just to participate online class and try to bother the discussion of a professor or faculty in the middle of the session. So all issues and many more shall be part of the teaching content as teacher, as each teacher will be encouraged to use technology in teaching. So the learners of the 21st century are even more advanced than some of the teachers. So as teacher, we should be responsive to the call of these challenging times. However, learners still need guidance on how to use, regulate technology use. As there are positive and negative implications, learners should not only know the benefits, but they should also know how they can be protected from the hazard that technology brings to their lives. Learners should take advantage of the potential of learning support they can derive, such as development of hats or the higher order thinking skills, to think critically, to collaborate, to be creative, the development of learning communities through collaboration, the enhancement of skills to manage the vast resources as 21st century learners. Teachers and learners should also be mindful of the e-waste that are being thrown away to the land and to the atmosphere. Okay? So that is how I end my presentation. By the way, I would like to recognize the author or the proponent of this PowerPoint, who is Mr. Erwin Marlon R. Sario. This material was uploaded in the website uh, for TTL1 or Technology for Teaching and Learning course. So class, thank you for listening.
Zombie apocalypse.